Hello everyone. So this year is 150th anniversary of Subhas Chandra Bose. So the contributions of Subhas Chandra Bose in the Indian freedom struggle becomes very important from exam point of view. So in this particular video lecture, we'll be covering all the aspects of Subhas Chandra Bose, his contributions, and all those important events during his timeline during the freedom struggle. Okay. So Subhash Chandra Bose, called as Netaji, the Azad Hind Fauj, All India Forward Bloc, and all those related information I'll be covering in this particular video. So first of all, we'll be covering the timeline, like the period in which he was very active. So his main active politics started from around 1919. So in 1919, he headed to London to give the Indian civil service and was selected. However, he resigned from civil service as he believed that he could not side with the British. So he was very clear he will be not be taking sides of the British. Then in non-cooperation movement, that is 1920, he joined. He was very young at that point of time, but yes, he participated in the non-cooperation movement, which was started by Gandhiji. During non-cooperation movement, Mahatma Gandhi advised Subhash Chandra Bose to work with C.R. Das. So C.R. Das became his political guru. Remember, C.R. Das was the political guru of Subhash Chandra Bose, and Mahatma Gandhi himself advised him to work under C.R. Das, who became his political guru. And C.R. Das was the editor of a particular magazine which is called Forward. Okay. Now, when Gandhiji stopped non-cooperation movement after the Chauri Chaura incident, it was called off. So at that point of time, Subhash Chandra Bose called it as a national calamity. So national calamity. He called this particular event as national calamity. Just remember, okay, it has nothing to do with Jallianwala Bagh or something. Okay, so Chauri Chaura incident was referred to by Subhash Chandra Bose as national calamity. So from this point of time, they started having some problems. Like both were having different ideology. So this was a time when initial, I'll not say rift, but different ideology. Like it started coming to the public. Ki Subhash Chandra Bose and Gandhi had different viewpoints. Okay. So now after non-cooperation movement, we move forward now. So during 1924 and 1927, C.R. Das became the mayor of Calcutta, and Subhash Chandra Bose became the CEO of Calcutta Corporation, because Subhash Chandra Bose was working under C.R. Das. But at that point of time, in 1920s, if you have gone through the history books, there was phase 2 of revolutionary terrorism. Like Bhagat Singh and all, they had started rebelling against the British government. So Hindustan Republican Association, which was made as Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, so they all were like they were all in news at that point of time. So it was said that Bose was also involved in this revolutionary terrorism. So he was deported to Rangoon for alleged involvement in with the revolutionaries. Then in 1927, Bose returns to India, but Bengal Congress fell into disarray after the death of C.R. Das. And during that point of time, 1925-26, C.R. Das died, right? So his death was a big blow to the Swaraj party at that point of time, because C.R. Das also founded the Swaraj party. Okay, now Bose comes out of jail and he contests elections to become the president of Congress. He did not become, but he wanted to become the president of Congress at that point of time. In 1927, he started the newspaper Swaraj. Okay. Now what happened in 1928? In 1928, there was a particular organization named Independence for India League. Okay. Now Independence for India League was founded by Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Srinivas Iyengar in 1928. Now why it was made? Because it was made in opposition to the Nehru report, because Nehru report had a particular provision of dominion status. Now Nehru report was bought by Motilal Nehru, was headed by Motilal Nehru. Other members were also there, but the head was Motilal Nehru, the father of Jawaharlal Nehru. But Jawaharlal Nehru was very young at that point of time. Subhas Chandra Bose, they were very young nationalists at that point of time. They demanded that we do not need any dominion status right now. We need complete independence. So they put forward the demand of complete independence through this organization. And the first president was Srinivas Iyengar. Remember, Nehru and Bose founded it. They were not the president. President was Srinivas Iyengar. Remember this name. They can ask you in question which of the following are associated with Independence for India League, and in one option they can put Srinivas Iyengar. Okay, fine. Next. So in 1930-34, what was happening? Civil disobedience movement was happening. Now at that point of time, Subhash Chandra Bose pens his autobiography, that is the Indian Struggle, and seeks help from European leaders, but again he gets arrested. 1934, civil disobedience movement gradually went. It was decreasing. Like in 1934, it was a phase 2 of civil disobedience movement, and Gandhiji withdrew from active politics at that point of time. So at that point of time, again Bose called Gandhi a failed leader. Remember, a failed leader. Okay, okay, fine. Now in 1938, what happened? 1938, he was the president of INC, Haripura session, very famous. First time he became the president of INC. At that particular session, National Planning Committee was set up under Jawaharlal Nehru. Now this is the genesis of our 5-year plans, which is now not there. It started in 1951, ended in 2014, and Niti Aayog came. So this is the genesis. From here, everything, like, it was a very initial point. Okay. Now again in 1939, what happened? Tripuri session. In Tripuri session, he was elected as the president of INC Tripuri session by defeating Gandhi's favorite Pattavi Sitaramaya. Now, but later an opposition from Gandhi supporters forced him to resign, because Gandhiji was supporting Pattavi Sitaramaya and Gandhiji did not want Bose to become the president. So other leaders who were supporting Gandhi, they also forced him to resign from Congress. So Bose accepted it, he resigned, and he moved on to set up the Forward Bloc and Kisan Sabha. Kisan Sabha is, or like, he supported the Kisan Sabha. Kisan Sabha was already there in 1936. I'll take a separate session on Kisan Sabha. But at that point of time, he supported Kisan Sabha. He founded a separate party, that is Forward Bloc. Okay. Now, what is this Forward Bloc? All India Forward Bloc. Now, it was founded by Subhas Chandra Bose. Now, it was a faction. It was a particular section within the Congress. Okay, within the Congress, which aimed at consolidating the leftist ideology. They wanted that leftist ideology to bring those radical elements. Leftist means what? They need complete equality, quick change in society. Okay, so they wanted radical elements to come, complete independence, principles of equality, social justice, everything. This is leftist ideology. Okay. Now, that amount of time, there was a newspaper by Bose called Forward Bloc. Now, this Forward Bloc also had its own conferences. Okay. For example, INC will have its own session, right? So this Forward Bloc also had its own session or conferences. So the first All India conference was held in 1940. The first All India conference of the Forward Bloc. Now declared the Forward Bloc to be a socialist political party. In this conference, they decided that our organization is a socialist political party. We support socialism. Okay. This conference passed a resolution. Now you have to remember the resolution name. The resolution name is All Power to the Indian People. This is the resolution name. They can ask you, this resolution refers to which of the following parties. So they can give you party names, INC, Muslim League, anything, any party name they can give. So the answer is Forward Bloc. They passed a resolution, All Power to the Indian People. What they did in this resolution, they urging the militant action struggle against the British colonial rule. They said ki now against the British, they urged everyone ki we have to take militant action. So by talking, nothing will happen. We have to take militant action. Now the president was obviously Bose and the secretary was H.B. Kamath. Remember the name, H.B. Kamath. Okay, now elections to the Constituent Assembly happened and the provincial elections happened in 1946. Okay, elections happened. Now the forward bloc also had contested the elections. HB Kamat even won a seat in the Constituent Assembly 1946, and Jyotish Chandra Ghosh, Hemant Kumar Basu, and Leela Roy were elected to the Bengal Legislative Assembly. Just remember the names, because if they want to ask or make a question difficult, you have to select the names associated with forward bloc. Just remember 2 to 3 names, because Bose is always there. Kamat, you can remember, and these 3 names: Jyotish Chandra Ghosh, Hemant Kumar Basu, and Leela Roy. They are all from the forward bloc. So the first conference happened in 1940, and the resolution name was "All Power to the Indian People." Okay. Now the second conference happened in 1947, 12th January 1947. Second All India Conference of Forward Bloc. That is, it happened at Bihar. There is a place called Ara. So the conference name was Ara Conference. Now here the party was re-established, like then there needed some changes in the party, reorientation. So it was re-established as an independent political party after the independence of India. Just remember the Ara Conference name. Okay. Now going back. So this was about the forward bloc party. Now going back to 1943. Now in 1943, what happened? He traveled to Japan and took leadership of the Indian independence movement in East Asia. Now what is this movement, or what is this league, Indian Independence League? Now it is sounding similar to the previous organization, Independence for India League. That is separate. This is separate. Okay. Now this is also an organization which works outside India. Remember, it works outside India, in particular Southeast Asia, not Europe. Okay. So it was a political organization operated from 1920s to the 1940s to organize those living outside India into seeking the removal of colonial rule over India. They wanted to remove the British rule. It was founded by Indian nationalists. The organization was located in various parts of Southeast Asia and included Indian expatriates and later Indian nationalists in exile under the Japanese occupation following Japan's successful Malayan campaign. When World War II was going on, in World War II, Japan took this Malaysia. It was held by the British. So at that point of time, the Indian soldiers who were in the British army, so they were captured, and they supported the Japan, and they found like Japan came in support of India to get independence. Okay, so Indian Independence League also he was associated in 1940s. Subhas Chandra Bose. During the Japanese occupation in Malaya, the Japanese encouraged Indian in Malaya to join the Indian Independence League. They encouraged them, you come and join the Indian Independence League. This league was primarily established to foster Indian nationalism and to obtain Japanese support. Japan was a very strong country at that point of time. So this organization was established so that we can encourage that Indian nationalism, and also we can get the support of Japan. So the IIL came to interact and command the IN, the Indian National Army, under Mohan Singh before it was dissolved. Now, IN was also there, Indian National Army. It was also there by Mohan Singh. So at that point of time, IIL and INA, they both came together. Then IIL was dissolved and INA took the lead, but they both came together. Now here, Ras Bihari Bose was already there, who had fled India from 1914, who had left India from 1914, and now he comes in 1942. So he handed over the INA to Subhas Chandra Bose. That is the INA 2.0, the second phase of INA. After Mohan Singh, Subhas Chandra Bose led the INA. So it was Ras Bihari Bose who handed over the command of INA to Bose. Later, after the arrival of Subhas Chandra Bose in Southeast Asia and the revival of INA, the league came under the leadership before giving way to the Azad Hind Fauj. That is nothing but the Azad Hind Fauj. Because there are some issues in the INA. I'll tell you what were the issues. So it needed a revival. Okay. Fine. So now we'll talk about INA in particular. Okay, INA was the Azad Hind Fauj. So the INA was an armed force formed by the Indian nationalists in 1942 through the patronage of Japan. Japan helped. Why? It was formed to secure the independence of India. It was first founded under Mohan Singh in Singapore. Who was Mohan Singh? He was a former officer of the British Indian Army, captured during the Malayan campaign. At that point of time, Japanese major was Iwachi Fujiwara. So he was captured, and Japan supported them, and they founded this. The INA received considerable support from the Imperial Japanese Army and from the ethnic Indian population of Southeast Asia. However, there was some disagreement over the autonomy, which led to disbandment of first INA in particular. I told you there are some issues, right? Who will lead? Because Japan wanted to lead, even Mohan Singh also wanted. So there was some kind of autonomy issues. Who will take the autonomy? So over that disagreement, it was disbanded, the first phase. Then came Subhas Chandra Bose, the second INA. So here, from here on, Subhas Chandra Bose comes and takes over the command of INA, right? So Mohan Singh often mentioned to the Japanese that the INA movement needed a new leader, and that was Bose. Mohan Singh also often mentioned because at that point of time Bose was very famous. Okay, he was in the news at that point of time everywhere. So Mohan Singh also thought maybe Subhash Chandra Bose can lead INA better. Okay, so he told he told the Japanese we need a new leader. So in May 1943, Bose arrived in Southeast Asia and immediately took over the situation with Japanese assurance. Okay, now in October 1943, he established the Azad Hind, that is the Provisional Government of Free India, which was immediately recognized by Japan. Now Bose became the Supreme Commander of INA or the Azad Hind Fauj. He recruited over 40,000 men by 1945, and also they had a women's regiment named after the legendary Rani of Jhansi. So there was a Jhansi ki Rani regiment, women regiment, and it was headed by named Lakshmi Sehgal, very famous Lakshmi Sehgal. Although Bose agreed for the INA to remain subordinate to the Japanese army, he saw it was a necessary sacrifice towards the fulfillment of ultimate goal of freeing India from the British Empire. It means obviously Japan was supporting, right? So he agreed, okay, fine, we will remain, the INA will remain subordinate, lower to the Japanese army. And he also thought it is a necessary sacrifice because our main goal is, ultimate goal or main goal is independence from British Empire. So it is okay, fine, we can be subordinate to the Japanese army. And it had two headquarters, remember, one at Rangoon, one at Singapore. Now Azad Hind Fauj participated in Operation Hugo. Okay, Operation. Now what was Operation Hugo? He participated in Operation Hugo in 1944 Japanese campaign towards British India. Now the Japanese Operation Hugo, the Japan plus INA or the Azad Hind Fauj, they both came towards India or northeast. They started coming, okay, and the slogan was Delhi Chalo. Delhi Chalo also was in 1857 revolt. Also there was a slogan called Delhi Chalo. So two times Delhi Chalo was used. Although the INA saw initial success during the early phase, of the operation, they were forced to withdraw. But eventually they were forced to withdraw during the Battle of Imphal and the Battle of Kohima. These are all part of this Operation Hugo. Now it saw disastrous defeat for the Japanese army at the hands of British. Now what were the reasons why they suffered a disastrous defeat, Japanese army and the INA? Because number one, there was lack of air power. Number two, there was breakdown in the chain of command. Number three, there was disruption in the line of supply. Number four, the strength of the allied powers, US, UK, The Allied power, they were more powerful at that point of time. These are very much important factors. Now, one more factor also had a role to play. That is the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb attack. It also forced Japan to surrender. So obviously, INA was left with no option. So INA was left to beat a retreat under extreme conditions. So these are the reasons why we suffered a defeat in the Operation Hugo or Battle of Imphal or Battle of Kohima. Most of the members of most of the members of the INA were captured by the British. Supreme Bose himself eluded capture and was reported to have died in a plane crash. He escaped, but he died in a plane crash near Taiwan in 1945. So the title of Netaji, who gave this title? See, 1942, he earned the title of Netaji. By whom? By the Indian soldiers of the INA or Azad Hind Fauj. Where? It was in Germany. Okay. He was also the first man to call Mahatma Gandhi the father of the nation in his address from Singapore. Now, three committees, just you can remember for state exams they may ask. In 1956, Shah Nawaz Committee to inquire about the death of Subhas Chandra Bose. This committee, Shah Nawaz Committee said he died in a plane crash. Justice Khosla Commission, they also said he died in a plane crash. 2005, there was a Justice Mukherjee Commission. They said he did not die in a plane crash, but he would have died due to old age. But government rejected this report. So just remember the names, not that much required from exam point of view, but other information are all important from exam point of view. Okay, next. Now, one more name you have to remember. He was an associate of Subhash Chandra Bose. The name is Mutramalinga Tevar. Okay. Now he also left Congress with Subhash Chandra Bose to create Forward Bloc in 1940. Just remember the name. And he was also a part of the trade union movement. So he spearheaded the trade union movement in Madras Presidency. Okay. Okay. Now what happened? What was the impact after Bose died? After his death, what was the impact? So these are the points you can use it in your GS1 mains answer writing. It will enrich your answer. Okay. The political impact of Bose's efforts was felt in India after his journey was over. The political impact was felt. 20,000 INA soldiers were interrogated and sent back to India. Of them, the ones that appeared to have been misled by the Japanese and INA propaganda, they were classified greys and whites and were set either free or reincorporated in the army. When trial was going on, 20,000 soldiers, after some soldiers were misled by the Japanese. They did not wanted to join, but they were misled. So they were like classified as greys and whites. Just remember the name, greys and whites. They were either set free or they were again reincorporated into the army. But the others who actively participated in the INA, they were listed blacks and put through court martial. So this can be a prelim stuff. Okay. Now there are 10 trials in total. There are 10 trials. The most celebrated one was the 3 INA commanders. P.K. Sehgal, remember the names, P.K. Sehgal, G.S. Dhillon and Shah Nawaz Khan. And it happened in Red Fort. See, the strange thing is that it's a coincidence. P.K. Sehgal, G.S. Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan all belong to Hindu, Sikh and Muslim community. So there was a time, that point of time, when Hindu-Muslim unity was not there, communal riots were going on. But in this particular case, like we all came together. So the Indian people came together for this, in this particular trial. So that strange coincidence was that each one of them belonged to Hindu, Sikh and Muslim community, and this added to the nationalist fervor. Now together they embodied the spirit of united India and its empathetic bid for freedom. So this was the thing which created a very kind of unity at a point of time when there was actually things were not that much good. Side में problems हो रहे थे या फिर the communal riots were going on. So it was a very strange coincidence. Okay. INA thing. So further, the INA had been led. Also, one more thing is the INA was led by a Bengali. Subhas Chandra Bose, led by a Bengali, which is the least martial of Indian races in the traditional British stereotypes. If you see Dogra regiment, Sikh regiment, those are very big regiments, the martial races. But Bengali is it was not that much big. Okay, but it was led, and now this one is a military organization. They were militant, like they were taking militant action, and it was headed by Bengali. So this also added further to the patriotic imagination of an actual army fighting for the country's liberation. So these are things you can write wherever required. You can write to make that answer look good, or to enrich your GS answer, so that 1 to 2 extra marks you can get in your answer writing. Okay, next. So what was the vision of Netaji? Very common things. He wanted different communities in the country. He wanted different communities in the country to enjoy the basic rights. He wanted good health, literacy, decent employment, and live together in peace and harmony. His fight was not only for political freedom, but also for social and economic freedom. He wanted everything. He was a socialist. He wanted political freedom, but also social and economic freedom. Society must be purged of narrowness. Inequality should not be there. Narrowness should not be there. The religion must be freed from bigotry and superstitious beliefs. He did not have any inclination towards superstitious beliefs. The Indian business community must grow. He also supported the business community, where he supported that business community should also join the nation building process. So the Indian business community must grow into a healthy self-consciousness and public-spirited body corporate. In the domain of culture, India wants genuine poets, painters, sculptors, historians, philosophers, economists, imbibed with the spirit of scientific research and endowed with real creative talent. So he believed in science and technology, whereas Gandhiji did not believe in science and technology. Gandhiji always supported village economy. He always supported, he always said, back to the villages. But here, Subhash Chandra Bose was in favor of scientific research. He was in favor of the Indian business community. Okay. So this was the vision of Netaji. You can use wherever required in your answer writing. So one question: which of the following were closely associated with Subhash Chandra Bose? Lakshmi Sehgal, less closely associated. Women's regiment का लीडर थे, रानी झांसी की रानी का जो रेजिमेंट था INA में. Captain Mohan Singh, yes, he was the first leader of the INA. C.R. Das was the political guru of Subhash Chandra Bose, and Mutrimalinga Tewar was his associate. They both left for forward bloc at the same point of time. Okay. So that's it. So you can just go through this video again and make notes, so that it will help you in prelims and mains both. Thank you.